NeonicVoid Productions presents.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you all about it. Like, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and get into it. Hi, how are you? Welcome to Book Watches.
Welcome
I'm
to
your
Book
host.
Watches. What's good? What's poppin'?
Oh God, leave her out of this. Leave that bitch out of this. Don't bring her
Oh, it
here.
ain't going anywhere.
Bitch, fuck off.
How are
It's
you?
good. I'm Jacob. I'm your host, and of course, I'm joined with beautiful, stunning, and very annoying Devin. What's up?
Oh, yeah, very annoying. Okay, yeah, that's what you said last night. Actually, he did call me annoying last night, so
Always
always, but with love. With
love
love.
and sheer spite.
The sheer spite's a little sprinkle on top. But hi, welcome to Book Watchers. You know the drill. Description below, YouTube channel, link tree to all the links to the other podcasts of the NeonicVoid family. If you like books and shit, please comment down below in the YouTube channel. Tell us some books you would like for us to talk about and read one day. You gay? We're here for it. Bet. We're a bunch of faggots here, so here we are.
Viewer
Twitter,
discretion
there
is
is no.
advised.
Yeah. Twitter, there is no Twitter for this place, for this thing at the moment. One of these days, maybe.
We'll get there.
One thing at a time, babes. One thing at a time, little ones. So today's episode, what are we talking about today?
So today we are going to be continuing talking about my new favorite author. His name is TJ Klune. He
Love
is the
him.
author. I love him. He is the author of the Green Creek novels, including Wolf Song and its sequels. He's written a lot of dozens of different books. Most, if not all of them, are gay romance. That's his primary genre of
Yeah.
writing. And I love it. I wouldn't say desperately needing, but I was definitely I needed like something different because I typically read just like fantasy and science fiction books and fiction. And occasionally I'll read a horror novel, but most of the horror books I've read were by Stephen King. And I mean, let's face it, Stephen King books, they're good, but and while they do have those fucked up moments, like you're just like, oh my god, this dude's unhinged. I don't find them that scary. Like to me, his books aren't really that scary. But we're not here to talk about Stephen King. We're here to talk about TJ Klune. And so after I read Wolf Song and its sequels, I just wanted to continue reading his stuff because I was like, man, I don't want to stop. I want more cute gay romance shit. All right. And since I read all of the books on Kindle, Kindle immediately gave me a uh, recommendation, like what to read next. You know, once you reach the end of the books on Kindle, a little pop up comes up like, "Hey, you like this book? Maybe you'll like this book, and by the same author." And immediately it recommended uh, one of his older book series, and that is Bear, Otter, and the Kid. And and that is the book we are going to be reviewing today. Bear, Otter, and the Kid is another gay romance novel. It's centered around it's more of like it has like elements of like a coming of age type story, as well as like elements of just fair warning, there are elements of some forms of abuse in this book. Now it's not like like the romantic couple, the romantic pair are abusing each other. It's more of like there's elements of neglect, as well as it tackles issues of like mental health, abandonment, and also, but on a more positive note, it has a lot of like found family. So we see like the main characters build an entirely new family around themselves, uh, especially after really a traumatic event. And we also see it's like a coming out story as well. At least this first book, because the main character uh, didn't even realize he was gay, and this is like something that not many people talk about. Sometimes, like especially if you are a person who was never really exposed to like homosexuality or the LGBTQ community, right? You grow up believing that it's just one way. Like you grow up, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, and that's all there is to life, right? And it's kind of like that, and he begins to realize that he's not straight, and he's in love with a man.
Bum, bum, bum.
And not many people talk about that because like it's that kind of when people like especially like the people like gay people from smaller communities that it's a lot harder for them to come to terms with their sexuality because they don't have access to that kind of or rather they weren't exposed to that kind of demographic. So
Yeah.
when they start realizing that's what they are, it's a lot harder for them to accept because they don't realize like it outside of that little corner of the world, there's just so much more for them.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Yay, go gay. We're all gay here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
If you're not
uh,
gay, you're boring. Kidding. 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 Kidding, y'all. Kidding.
I mean, straight people, ew.
L. Gross.
Eh. Fucking breeders. I'm just kidding.
Damn. Damn, Jacob. Drag them.
No, there's no hate here. There's no hate here. We might get canceled.
By what? A bunch of homophobes? If you're listening to us, babes, you're not straight, you're heterosexual. The straights are the problem, people. You're heterosexual if you're listening to two faggots talk about books that are gay.
You mean homosexual?
No. If you're heterosexual, you just happen to be attracted to women. If you're straight, you're one of them people that like you either straight. You can't be gay. You choose to be that way. You should be straight. Those are the straight people. Those are the homophobes.
Uh-huh.
So you're not straight. You're heterosexual. It's like saying white versus white trash. They're just white. They're just white. They're white trash. It's just like the variation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so without further ado, let's go on. Yeah, murder.
Let's get into it. Oh,
yeah,
God. Well, I mean, you're right.
Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and get into this. So as the title, pretty much the title is also the name of the three main characters. So it's centered around a young man named Derek McKenna. He is the main character of the story, but he is often referred to by his nickname Bear. And for those thirsty bitches out there, no, he is not a bear. Like he is not. He's actually he actually fits more as a twink, but there's a story behind his nickname, and we'll get to that in a sec. Then, of course, so it's centered around Derek McKenna, who goes by Bear, and his love interest. His name is Oliver Thompson, but when Bear first met Oliver. Bear was like about 6 years old, and Oliver was about, I think he was like 14 or 15, because there's like a good 9-year age gap between the two of them. So when he first met him, he saw a note written on Oliver's bedroom door with his name on it, but the handwriting was not really legible. So he asked his best friend, Creed, who is Oliver's younger brother and is about the same age as Bear, uh, your brother's name is Otter, and Creed, who is that typical little shit of a brother, it's like, oh, I love that. That's it. From this day forward, Oliver is now Otter. So that's just what he goes by now.
Period.
And then the story is also focused on Bear's younger brother, Tyson McKenna, or the Kid. Now, Kid is oh god, let's see, is about 12 to 13 years younger than Bear. So when Bear was like about 13 years old, his mom had his younger brother, and by the time he was 18, like he was 17, 18 years old, Tyson, which is when the story actually begins. Kid is about 6 years old. Um, so to start off, this book starts on a very dark note, to say the least, because of course it's a gay novel. All right, we gays, we have all the trauma.
Yeah.
You name it, we got it.
Yeah.
Daddy issues, we got that. Mommy issues, we got that too. Abandonment issues, oh, we got
Yep.
that.
Uh-huh.
That and we got that, and also so does Bear and his brother Ty, because their mother, for starters, she is an alcoholic and a heavy smoker. So growing up, both Bear and Tyson, they had to live with their mom's alcoholism and smoking. Now she was never abusive in the like outwardly abusive in the way where she like yells, talks down to them, or even physically violent with them. But the thing about this book is that it addresses that abuse is not always just that. It's not always just yelling, screaming, kicking, and punching.
Yeah.
Or just like put downs and condescending. No, it's neglect is a form of abuse, and their mom was a neglectful person. She never really did anything to actually take care of them. She did the bare minimum. She made sure that they had a roof over their head. She made sure that they were fed. But really, she never went above and beyond for them to make sure that her two sons had a good life. They lived in a shitty, rundown apartment, and there were times where Bear felt like he had to really Bear felt like he had to grow up a lot faster, especially with when his brother came along, because even though his mom did just the bare minimum to make sure that Kid didn't starve and was taken care of, she was still neglectful, and there were times where Bear would find himself having to take care of his baby brother instead of living his life. Now, Bear never felt any kind of resentment towards Kid. He's fiercely defensive of his younger brother. He takes care of him. Uh, Growing up, Ty learned to look to and rely on his brother more than his mom. Like, they didn't exactly hate their mom, but they knew that she's not really putting effort into their lives or into their care. And they basically adopted that mindset of like, oh wait, oh great, like what's she doing now? Oh, is she drunk? Oh, she drunk again? Okay, like business as usual,
Oh
which is,
God.
which is honestly like it's sad. like when you're a child and you grow up with that, it's really sad because you're not looking at that point. You're not looking at your parent with love or uh, respect or adoration. It's a form of contempt, and it's not really outward or like open. They're not really outward and open about it. There is a form of contempt and resentment there, and Bear at the beginning of the story, he was just on his in the process of getting ready to graduate from high school. He had plans to go to an out of state university. He had his own goals, his own life goals and dreams. He wanted to become a writer. And while he was concerned for his brother being left alone with his mom, he figured, okay, well, he'll be fine. Their mom was never the kind of person to like mistreat them or anything like that. He figured, Ty is a very smart kid, and he'll be okay. Bear is just gonna make sure to check in on Tyson from time to time to make sure that the kid is not, is doing okay and has everything he needs while he gets himself ready for his own future. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen because literally the night before Bear's 18th birthday, their mother leaves. She just dips.
Ew.
She didn't say a word to them. She didn't give them any kind of clue or indication that she was planning on leaving. Just out of nowhere, she left. Only thing she left Bear was a note as well as paperwork for assuming power of attorney over Ty, which is really like, which when I read that part, like, wait, power of attorney for a child? Like,
Um.
I mean, I think like some people can get that, but like, if like let's say the parent isn't like their parent or legal guardian isn't able to like do the things they need to take care of the kid, but they still have custody of the kid. I think somebody else can like take responsibility. I don't know. It was really weird. He just got a letter that was poorly like the letter uh was full of typos and it just really showed how moronic their mom was. Uh, but either way, she told him that her current boyfriend had gotten a job out of state and wanted her to go with him, but having her kids tag along wasn't in the picture. So she decided she decided that since Bear was already going to be 18, he's old enough to take care of the kid. And she told him in the letter, like, you've always been better at taking care of the kid more than I have. You'll do great. I believe in you. Blah blah blah. I'm out of here, going to see the world and that shit. And it was heartbreaking to say the least for uh for Bear, because Bear was ready to finally get out on his own, get away from his mom and from those responsibilities that he had put on him. Because even before his mom left, like I said, he was already pretty much taking care of the kid. But he wanted to live his own life and make his own decisions. But their mom left. And instead of ensuring that Bear gets full custody of the kid and everything is done right, she just left him with some bullshit documents about granting him power of attorney. It was all sketchy and like was not actually legal because not to spoil anything, but in one of the future books that does come back to bite both Bear and his mom in the ass, because it wasn't the legal guardianship of Ty was never properly addressed, was never properly handled, so they had to deal with CPS and everything. But that's for another book. Right now we're going to focus on this. So Bear, even before his mom left, Bear had already found himself an extended family. in the form of his girlfriend Anna, as well as his best friend Creed, and Creed's older brother Otter, who would eventually become Bear's love interest. And then, of course, Creed and Otter's family got involved in the whole thing. When he told everybody what had happened, everyone immediately came to his aid. They were there for him. They supported him. Bear had his own bank account, something that his mom did not have. Like his mom never had a proper bank account. She was just always dealing in cash. And when Bear opened his own bank account when he started working, he made the mistake of giving his mom access to the bank account, and when she dipped, she ended up stealing all of his money.
Oh shit.
Yep, she stole his money. He had like about $3,000 saved up for college, and she took it. And in her letter, like she doesn't tell him she took all the money. She just told him, I left you a couple $100. That should be enough to get you, like, keep you guys on your feet while while you work and get
What a
everything ready.
bitch.
Yeah, and like he checked his bank account and was like, yeah, oh, that's my money's gone. That's gone.
Damn.
And uh his so Creed and Oliver's parents end up giving Bear all that money back. They give him a check for $3,000. He didn't want to take it, but they basically pulled rank on him. Is like, Bear, if you don't take this money, we're gonna force you to take it. You're not you're not getting out of this, Bear. You're taking the money, whether you like it or not. And they really pulled through. They helped him with taking care of the kid. Kid was only 6 years old at the time. Bear was about to turn 18, and he was just a couple weeks away from graduating high school, which is like everything that, like, all of this just came dropping down on him, like one thing after another. So both him and Tyson ended up developing some serious anxiety and abandonment and trust issues as well. So, and it affected the kid a lot more than it did Bear. Since Bear was older, this was something that, like, while he was pissed at his mom for doing this to them, in a way it was something that he was like, well, I can't say I'm surprised, but fuck that bitch. But it was a lot harder for the kid to adjust to, because since he was so young, having his mom just leave like that had a very lasting impact on him. But for a while there, the two of them were able to pull through and really make things work because they had the support of their new family. Um, but not long after Bear graduated from high school, he got very depressed because he felt the weight of everything coming down on him. All right, he's now working full time at the grocery store that he used to work part time at. He now has to he now has to worry about making sure he gets rent and all the bills taken care of. Anytime Ty needs to go to the doctor, he has to make sure he has the money for that. And it just was really coming down on him. And he got one summer night he got drunk, and he realized, like, I'm in a bad place right now and don't want to be alone. And he always knew that he can rely on his family, his new family, especially his best friend, his girlfriend, and and Otter. For some reason that night, Otter and Creed were at some sort of family dinner, and his girlfriend was at work, but he ended up calling Otter out of the blue and told Otter what was going on, and Otter immediately dropped everything, just dipped from the family dinner and came over to Bear's house. They spent time with him, just made sure that Bear was not, uh, you know, doing anything stupid, and made sure Bear was uh, aware that he's not alone. Thing is, Bear is a total lightweight when it comes to his alcohol. Like he could drink one glass of wine and he's out.
Damn.
And he drank a lot of beer, so he was definitely at that point where he was stupid drunk, where he does not have any control of his actions. And while they were talking, Bear, and just out of the blue, just ends up kissing Otter, like just kisses Otter. And the thing is, it wasn't one of those kisses like he kissed and Otter was like, "Whoa, bro." Otter actually kissed him back.
Oh
And
shit.
then yeah, so Bear pulled back and he realized what he did and he was like, "I'm so sorry," and he was so embarrassed. He ended up going to his room. Otter talked him down, made sure Bear knew that it was okay, it wasn't his fault. He's going through some hard times and things like that. Now let me tell you something. I am a stan for their relationship. I love two of them. Otter is a really wonderful person, and he does become a very loving and supportive partner for Bear and for the kid, and like a father to the kid. But the next decision he makes after this event kind of like puts him on everybody's shit list for a few years. Because the thing about Otter is that he is actually gay. He came out when he was still a teenage. When he came out, right around the time he started college. Because remember, he's about 9 years older than Bear, so he was already by this point he had already graduated college, and he's working as a professional photographer uh, for a local photography studio. He had at this point received a job offer from a studio in California, and he wasn't initially planning on taking the job because he wanted to stay and help Bear and be there for the kid. But after he kissed Bear, he felt really ashamed of himself because he didn't think Bear was gay. And when they kissed, he actually did reciprocate the kiss. It was something that he himself had always wanted to do because he started having developing feelings for Bear. And the
Yeah.
thing is that because of their age gap and also because of the difference, because of the circumstances surrounding Bear, he did not want to do anything. He wasn't going to do anything uh, to put Bear in an odd position or to make Bear feel uncomfortable. He was just more content to just be there for him. And when Bear kissed him and he kissed him back, he felt like he was projecting his feelings and his attraction onto Bear and and he felt like he was God, I almost said grooming. Not grooming, but like he felt like he was influencing Bear in a negative way, and he didn't want that. So out of the blue, Otter took the job in California and just left. And what made it worse was that he left a note too,
Oh
and like
no.
yeah. So this happened a few months after Bear's mother left. So it was just like I was like, "Oh, honey, no. Oh God, you no. Oh,
Oh
oof.
no.
You done goofs, man. That's
You
no.
done fucked up. Oh god. Yeah. The
Yeah."
worst.
So he ends up leaving, and Bear. It was a lot for Bear. This was a lot worse than his mom leaving because with his mom, he had no real high expectations for her. Yeah, it sucked, especially because she basically burned him on her way out by stealing his money and leaving him in charge of a 6-year-old. But uh, it was something like, you know what, fuck this bitch. We never needed her, right? So he was able to get past that. But Otter, Otter had always been this stable presence in his life, just like his best friend Creed, just like his girlfriend Anna. Everything about them, they, they were they were people that he really needed. And the fact that Otter would just leave like that, it was just something that really fucked with Bear. And for the next 3 years, Bear would end up resenting Otter. He doesn't really speak to Otter for the next few years. Otter tries to live his life in, I believe he went to San Diego, in the California photo studio. He was doing really well for himself. Even tried to move on with the relationship, but during that 3 year period, Bear manages to pull his life together bit by bit. He creates a stable routine for him and Kid, and while they're not exactly better than they were without their mom, they're at least like when their mom was still there, they're at least surviving. And Bear has a system where it all like everything is working. You know, everything is working for him, and life for him, at least he tried to kid himself, was good.
Yeah.
And then in that 3 year time span, uh, during a Christmas party, Otter did come back to visit family. They were all at his family's house, and Bear saw him briefly, and Otter hugged him and tried to like talk to him, but Bear was still very angry with Otter for leaving and didn't really talk to him and did his best to avoid Otter. And Otter was hurt by this, but he understood because he's like, yeah, I fucked up. Like, yeah, he knows what he did. And
Yeah.
he leaves another note for Bear telling him he's like trying to apologize, and also tells him if you ever need anything, I'm always here for you. All right. I want to try to make this right. And uh now we're getting close where we come to present day. It's been 3 years since Otter's initially left. Bear has had to deal with other things. Had to deal with other issues concerning Otter's absence, and that is the kid. The kid is a very brilliant young man. Let me tell you something. At 9 years old, Bear often refers to him as the eco terrorist in training because he has, for one thing, at 9 years old, he's very smart. Kid is a vegetarian,
Ooh.
and he's a staunch animal rights activist. And what the time frame that this book was written, it was in like I think it takes place sometime in the early 2000s. So this was before that whole controversy with PETA
Yeah.
came out. So like so he was a big supporter of no, he was a big supporter of the animal rights movements, and that mainly. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes.
You're
I was
fine.
trying to check. I'm checking something real quick. Da-da-da-da. Wait, yeah. So Ty supports PETA, and he even follows like protests, and at one point he begins organizing protests and participating. Like he'll actually make Bear go with him to protest for like I don't know, opening of a new butcher shop or like animal processing plants, things like that, and go protests. You know, he's really into that, and I'm like, wow, eco terrorist in training. Like, Bear often refers to Kid as like he always says this kid is going to take over the world by the time he's 16. Like he's an evil genius. But Kid is really, like I said, he's really smart, but he's also very sweet. But with both his mom leaving and also Otter leaving, Kid develops extreme trust issues. He develops anxiety as well as panic disorders. One of the things that happens to Kid is so Kid had developed a coping mechanism for his anxiety and his panic disorders. Um, Whenever Kid begins to become overstimulated and overwhelmed by things going on around him, when he was a little kid, he learned that whenever there's an earthquake, you're supposed to crawl into a bathtub because you'll be safe. Because I guess like bathtubs are like reinforced, so if the building collapses, like and you're in the bathtub, you'll be safe. So
Yeah.
for him, his panic attacks feels like an earthquake. Like everything is shaking. He's losing his sense of stability, and so what he'll do is climb into a bathtub and just ride it out.
Aww.
And Barrett, like, see, Tyson had been doing that since he was a young kid, even when their mom was still there, but it wasn't as frequent. But when Otter left, they became more frequent. He became the kid didn't really act out so much, but he often butted heads with his teachers because he often would prove that he is much smarter. He would prove that he is much smarter than his teachers. So it's typical young genius type of kid. And uh, Bear begins. Bear starts to resent Otter for that because Otter's absence caused that kind of like not so much as caused it, but made it worse. But the kid never faulted Otter for that. I mean, he was sad that Otter left, but he never really hated him or resented him. So when we get back to the modern day, um, Bear and the kid were they had gone to the airport to pick up Creed. Creed had decided to attend a university the University of Phoenix in Arizona. So while Bear's back home in Seafair, many of his friends have left town, and the only person who he still sees regularly is his girlfriend Anna. Their relationship is somewhat contentious because they're that typical on again off again type relationship. Like they'll break up during a fight and then like make up and get back together not even a day later. Um, but Anna has been very supportive. She often watches Kid whenever Bear needs some time to himself or has to work late. He also relies on his next door neighbor, um, Mrs. Paquin, and wait, that's her name, right? Oh Jesus Christ! I literally just read these books like about a little over a month ago,
Yeah.
and you know, but like I'm terrible with names because their neighbor she becomes sort of like a grandmotherly figure because she's an elderly lady, and she often takes care. She often takes care of the kid whenever Bear's working late, all that kind of stuff. But now like more to the story. Uh, Creed came back to town for his summer vacation, for a summer break, and when Bear picked him up and was taking him to his parents' house, they noticed that there was a Jeep in the driveway. Creed didn't recognize the Jeep at first, so thinking that it's an intruder, he goes inside the house while Bear and Kid wait outside. But Creed comes back out a few minutes later and he's like, "Guess who it is? It's Otter." So Otter had decided to come back to Seafair for an extended hiatus from his job in California. Bear is not too pleased about this. The kid is overjoyed to see Otter again. Um, and the thing is, the kid be plotting on them. The kid's plotting. Let me tell you that right now. He is always plotting.
Ooh, the
And
plotter.
yeah, I think on some level, the kid knew that Otter felt something a lot deeper for. I'm sorry, yeah, Otter and Bear felt something more for each other. So like throughout the book, he often does things to get the two of them together, like spend more time with each other. Um, like he asks Bear, can I have some soy ice cream? Because since he's vegetarian, he doesn't eat regular ice cream. He eats soy ice cream. And they didn't have any at the Thompsons' house, so Bear agrees to go get some from the grocery store real quick, and Kid tells Otter, "Why don't you go with him?" And Bear's like, "You little shit," because Bear at this point still doesn't really want anything to do with Otter, and but the two of them go together. The Bear doesn't really talk to Otter aside from a few like just small talk, and on their way back from getting the ice cream, um, like Otter tries to like get Bear to open up and talk to him, at least try to like reconcile. And at one point, Bear does go off on him, and it comes to his the hurt and his anger towards Otter comes out. And really, it was just more of like the fact that he was more upset that Otter left, and Otter promised him, "Look, I'm here to stay. I'm not going to leave again. Okay, I'm gonna be here. I'll be here for the two of you." And while this doesn't immediately solve their problem, like Bear still has a lot of anger towards Otter, it does he does begin to loosen up, and uh he begins to he starts to work towards forgiving Otter. Um so the guys So pretty much everything starts to go back to normal for everybody, or at least some way to the normalcy that from before Otter left. Otter's presence actually has a very positive impact on the kid. His anxiety and panic attacks become less frequent. He's more open and talkative, and Bear sees this, so like he's that also helps him to come to forgive uh, Otter. Another thing that Bear is beginning to deal with emotionally is guilt, because he never told his girlfriend or anyone really that he kissed Otter when he was drunk all those years ago, and that's one thing that's been weighing on his mind for a while. And now that Otter is back, he's starting to deal with these his feelings concerning Otter, because we begin to learn from various flashbacks and conversations that Bear has with his friends and his family that his feelings, his relationship with Otter was a lot deeper than he himself even realized. Um, he always looked up to Otter as as his own big brother as well, but his feelings for Otter were also something more confusing that he didn't really understand. He spent countless hours spending time with Creed at his family's house. And sometimes Creed would like fall asleep early and Bear would still be awake, and it would just be him and Otter, and they'll be spending time together. And he always felt like something different when it came to Otter. And his relationship with Otter had always been something that kind of rubbed his girlfriend the wrong way. Like she was never that type that says, "Oh, I don't like your friends, don't hang out with them," because well, his friends were her friends too. So it was just one of those things that like can't really get she never really faulted him for. But eventually Anna begins to notice that his behavior and his attitude, especially concerning Otter, and she tries to talk to him, or at least get him to open up about it more. And she even calls him out, saying that you always seem to have, whenever it comes to Otter, there's always something different. Like you don't talk to anyone else. You don't talk about anyone else that way. Hell, you don't talk about me that way. But when it's Otter, you just seem to. It's always different. I mean, aside from how you felt about him leaving, even before then, it always seemed like there was something more between the two of you guys. And eventually Bear finally he finally tells her what he's been feeling, tells her about his feelings toward what happened with Otter, and how he doesn't really understand it either, because by this point he and Otter had several close encounters of the homosexual variety.
Mhm.
And while he wasn't okay, well it's cheating when you get down to it, but the thing is that it wasn't really so much as like he Bear didn't really act on his feelings towards Otter, but his feelings were there, and they were beginning to he's beginning to like understand how he feels about Otter, and he doesn't know what he's going to do about it. But when confronted with those feelings, and finally he was forced to come out to Anna, or rather tell Anna about what happened between him and Otter. The two of them do break up, and with this breakup, however, it's apparent that it's final. Like, this is it. It's not just a minor. This wasn't just a minor fight where it was just like, oh, we're breaking up, and then they get back together. This is like done deal. And
Yeah.
Bear's understandably upset, and he feels ashamed of himself for allowing his emotions to get the better of him. But he works through it. He turns to Otter, and they begin to admit their feelings to each other. And uh, Bear manages to get a full explanation from Otter why he like what really drove him to leave. Like, why did he leave like that? He told and Otter was honest. He told Bear that he had had much deeper feelings for Bear for a long, long time, and the thing is their age gap, and also the fact that Otter was not entirely convinced that was not 100% on Bear. Have He wasn't sure if Bear would feel the same, and when the two of them kissed all those years ago, he felt like he was influencing Bear in all the wrong ways. So he decided to leave because he didn't want to continue putting his own feelings towards Bear on Bear and influencing him to into a relationship that he may not even want. Right? And it
Yeah.
was very his feelings on the matter were very complex, but he also tells Bear why he came back after all these years, and that was because while Otter he was doing very well for himself in California, he was very successful as a photographer. He made stupidly good money, and he even started a relationship with another man. Otter felt like there was something missing in his life, and it got to the point where like not okay, Otter became a little obsessed with Bear because like it got to the point where his mental health began to decline. He felt like he everywhere he turned, he saw things that reminded him of Bear. He There were times where he saw people that he seriously thought was actually Bear when really it wasn't, and like it got to the point where it was affecting his current relationship, his other relationship with a guy named Jonah, and he started to realize though that the man he was with was not really in for it for like an actual like, oh, like we actually love each other. His boyfriend was definitely that kind of person who dates for status.
Mm.
So like since Bear since Otter was doing very well for himself and was also and a very attractive young man, not to say the least. Uh, his partner was definitely more into it, was more in for the relationship for the wrong reasons, and that also didn't really sit right with Otter. So Otter decided to not only end his relationship with that guy, but he decided to come back to Seafair and make things right with Bear. Even if Bear, doesn't feel the same way for Otter. Otter just wants to make sure that Bear's okay and that they can like, be friends at the very least. Have it like mend their relationship. And it's just this point that Bear comes to terms with the fact that he also does feel the same way for Otter, but he doesn't really consider himself gay because he's never felt that way for other guys. Like he never even looked at other guys that way. But tentatively, the two of them begin their relationship. Um, they actually start a relationship together, and they keep it on the down low. They don't tell their friends about it. Like Bear feels guilty about this for not telling at least Creed about it because he's dating his best friend's older brother, and he doesn't tell Anna about this. One, because they're not speaking. They don't really speak to each other for a short period of time because of the breakup. I mean, Anna promises that. Uh, I mean, Anna's promises that she's not gonna just abandon him and Kid she just wants to. She just needs uh some time to herself. But still, he doesn't tell her about their relationship together. And for a while, they're very happy with each other. Since now Otter is more present in his life, the kid's mental health significantly improves, and for the first time in a long time, Bear feels like he's actually living. He's not surviving; he's living. He feels more alive instead of it in just this rut that he's been in for the past 3 years since his mom left. Now, this is where things begin to become very complicated
Uh-oh.
because um,
Mama comes home, doesn't she?
she comes home,
Oh, God.
and she doesn't come home permanently, thank God. She's not. It wasn't that situation where she's like, "Hey, I'm back. Thanks for taking care of everything. I'm coming back for good." And it wasn't even like she didn't even come back like, "Oh, well, can I get like to like take advantage of Bear like and say, "Hey, can you like help Mama out and like loan me some money? I'll pay you back." Like, no. After like Bear and Otter, they were having a nice little date and spending time with each other. They had left. Um, hang on, I gotta look for her name. Uh, they have this next door neighbor, and see. Mrs. Paquin, that's her name. I fucking knew it. Anyway, so okay, so yes, so their mother comes back and it's completely out of the blue. They had no warning. Otter and Bear had they were spending some time together, and they left Kid with their neighbor, Mrs. Paquin. She like I said before, she had become this sort of grandmotherly type figure in their life. She's very supportive of them. She makes sure that they're okay. Like first time she met them and she got to know their mom, she kind of became felt like she immediately adopted them as her own because her she her family have all passed away. She had a daughter who died in a car accident, and her husband passed away a few years before. So at this point, she was just living just the rest of her life, and like she was just gonna live the rest of her life out. She's on Social Security and all that, and make the best of it. And she always made sure that Bear knew that like whenever he needed it, she'd be there to watch the kid, and he can go live his life when he wanted to, or if he had to take care of stuff, she was always there, and she became like this second motherly figure for them. And so while they were gone, so they have their little date night. They come back to to Bear's apartment. When they go upstairs, the kid immediately runs out to them, and he's visibly shaken. He clings to Bear, and he seems to be afraid. And when Bear asks him what's going on, he just says, "She's here." And Bear's like, "Oh shit." Otter is there, and he takes control. Like he doesn't know what's going on. He's not sure who Kid is talking about, but he takes control. And he's like, "It's okay. We'll figure it out. Let's see what it is." So they go inside and they find Mrs. Paquin sitting in the living room of Bear's apartment, and sitting across from her is Bear and Tyson's mom, Julie McKenna. And upon seeing Julie, Bear immediately he starts freaking out a bit. Like he's staring at her, and he has like all these emotions going through him: anger, fear, like all these things, like hurt, resentment, all of this. And Mrs. Paquin, she quietly excuses herself from the apartment. She tells Bear that if he needs anything, she's next door, and she leaves. Julie tries to initiate some small talk with with them, but Bear excuses himself from the room and takes Otter and the kid. He takes the two of them into the other bedroom. They talk for a bit, and Otter's like, "Listen, well, like Otter immediately becomes a supportive boyfriend. It's like, listen, whatever she wants, doesn't matter what she wants. Just know we're in this together. All right, you don't have to worry about a single thing." And uh, they go out and they confront Julie. She tries to make things. She tries to like talk to them, try to get them to open up, but Bear's not having it. He's trying his damnedest to like get her to like just spill the beans. Like, why are you really here? He's not trusting her at all, and she's being very dodgy and not really like telling them the reason why they're there. Now he and Otter are being careful not to really outwardly show that the two of them are together as a couple, because they're still keeping things on the down low. But at one point in the conversation, they kind of slip up a bit. They share a bit of, you know how like couples share those meaningful glances with each other. It's almost like they can like
Communicate without
it's
saying
almost
anything.
yep.
Yeah.
Well, when they do this in front of her, and she gets this look on her face like she just won the lottery, and uh, she immediately she starts berating Bear, and she doesn't say anything outwardly homophobic, but she starts making it clear that her intentions were not good. And Bear's realizing that okay, things are about to get very ugly between him and his mom. He tells Otter to take he tells Otter to take Kid out of the apartment, like just take him out and as far away from here as possible, and let Bear handle his mom. When they do, when they leave, Bear immediately confronts his mom about that. Like, so what's the deal? So what? You don't like that I'm in a relationship with a man, or what? And his mom begins spewing like a lot of religious rhetoric. Like I don't like I don't want my son being raised by gays, things like that. And it's just like when I was reading this scene, let me tell you something. My blood pressure was going up. I was mad. I was like, "Oh, this bitch right here. Ooh, oh, this bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd read like a little thing she says. I put my book down. I'm like, oh my god. I just want to fuck her up. Fuck
Uh,
this bitch. Like she doesn't say anything like really bad, like very outwardly homophobic, but she's making her position clear that she doesn't approve and she doesn't want Otter around the kid. And Bear's like, who do you like? Where do you get off coming into this house after you just fucking abandon us and telling me how I can or cannot raise the kid? All right, because you clearly didn't want to do that, so I'm gonna raise the kid exactly how I want to. But then uh, Julie hits him with this. I'm taking the kid back. If you continue with your relationship with Otter, I'm taking the kid. And this scares Bear because that's the last thing he wants to happen. And he's like, "What are you so okay, what are you going to okay, so what? You're not going to take him." She's like, "You're right. You're right. I'm not going to take him, but I will if you don't end your relationship with Otter." He's like, "That's not going to happen." She's like, "Okay, that's fine. I'll take you to court and get custody of him back." And she even like makes these threats like, "Hey, all right, even if you use my alcoholism against me, all right, who do you think the court's going to believe?" And uh a man barely in his 20s who had who had barely legal uh power of attorney over a minor, or a mother who left and easily could say that she left for her health and went and to seek treatment for uh her addiction. So she was really being very manipulative in this situation. And she makes it clear to Bear that if he doesn't break up with Otter, she's going to sue for custody, and she's going to take the kid back.
Now, in a real life standpoint,
No, that would
I
never
don't
work.
think she would have much of a case because I'm sure there are plenty of people that could say with firsthand experience about her alcoholism, the fact that she left, especially if he still has the letter that that she left and left the paperwork, regardless if it was actually legal or not, that she left the paperwork for him to get the full custody or power of attorney or whatever. So he honestly he would have it in the bag. But when you're told that in the heat of the moment, it sounds scary. But in real life standpoints, I don't think she would have much of a case.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna. So they do address that specific situation in the next book. But
Work.
right now,
Yeah.
I won't spoil that for you guys. But for now, Bear acquiesces, which I'm like, oh, you stupid bitch. Like, oh, you dumb bitch. But whatever. He was scared. I mean, anybody would be terrified in that situation if you were suddenly told that your kid is going to get taken from you. So that would terrify anybody. He breaks up with Otter. Doesn't really give Otter a real explanation, which I think he should have just told Otter outright, like, dude, my mom's threatening to take the kid away if I don't break up with you. Because the thing is that Otter, aside from his parents who are very well off on their own, Otter was very successful in his job, and he has a lot of money, and he would have gotten a very good attorney. He would have gotten a very good attorney to help Bear ensure that Bear gets custody, like full on legal custody of Tyson. But Bear was scared. He breaks it off with Otter, and Otter kind of takes a back seat in he stops seeing Otter in general. Um, and this also negatively impacts the kid's mental health because he doesn't really explain why to the kid. I think he does actually. I think he does tell the kid like, listen, she's she's gonna try to take you away if he sticks around.
Yeah.
And they have no real choice but to keep their distance from Otter at this point. And the thing is, his friends, they immediately notice everything that's going on, like how both Otter and Bear seem to be at odds again, and they try to like help cheer them up and try to reconcile things, but Bear refuses because he just doesn't want to risk his mom getting involved again. Because after he agrees and she after he agreed to her terms, she left. She didn't stick around. She just left. And what really scared the shit out of Bear was that how did she know? How did she know about Otter's and Bear's relationship? They weren't yeah, they spent time together and they went on little dates, but they weren't really like going out in public and acting like a couple.
Yeah.
So it just seems very off to him that she would know about this.
That means there's a rat somewhere.
That also doesn't get revealed like until the next book. So
Yeah.
sorry guys, not going to spoil that for you right now, but eventually, uh, Bear manages to reconcile with Anna. They don't get back together in a relationship, but they reconcile and they become good. They become friends again, on speaking terms again. But his best friend Creed does know something is off about Bear, and it has to do with Otter. And he also notices how depressed Otter has become. But at some point, I think Creed was also trying to plot because he knew like something was going on between the two of them, and he knew that he needed to like get them to like reconcile some way. So he caught wind that Otter was planning on going back to California.
Mm-hmm.
Now the real reason why Otter was going back to California was because he was going to make his move back to Seafair permanent, because it was just the time that he was there in Seafair was more of an extended hiatus from his job and just to get away from things. But now he wants to completely like leave California and come back to Seafair permanently. And he
Yeah.
later reveals to Bear that he was planning on fighting for Bear. Like he was gonna make things right with Bear again. Doesn't matter what it took. He was going to fight for Bear. And I was all like, oh, oh, this
My
man.
heart.
Like Bear didn't give him an explanation for breaking up with him, but Otter was like, "That's not gonna stop me. I'm gonna fight for you. Like it's you and
That's
me."
love.
I'm like, oh, oh my god, I can't. My heart. But the thing is that I think Creed knew this, but he was like, "All right, I need to like kick Bear in the ass." So he calls up Bear because Creed was the summer was ending. Creed was about to go back to Arizona to finish to start his next semester at school, and he threw a party at his house. And while Bear was invited, he chose not to go because Otter would be there. But Creed calls up Bear and tells Bear, "Hey, listen, man, you got to get here and talk some sense into Otter because Otter's planning on leaving. He's going back to California." And this scares the shit out of Bear because he's like, "No!" Like, even though he broke up with Otter, Bear's like, "No, I don't want him to leave. I can't do. No, okay, you know what? Fuck it. I can't do this. I can't. I need him. I need him." Like, SpongeBob moment right there. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I need it. And
Yeah.
he leaves Kid in care of his neighbor and runs to Creed's. He runs to the Thompsons' house. He goes up. He ignores everybody in the party and goes up to Otter's room to talk some sense into him. But as soon as he goes into Otter's bedroom, he immediately notices that Otter is not alone. There is Otter. There is another man in Otter's room. They're not doing anything. If anything, Otter like when you like read the scene, you could tell Otter is very standoffish with the guy in the room, but Bear is very neurotic and his mind tends to take off when he's panicking. So he saw this man and he immediately knew who he was because the man that was in Otter's room was Otter's ex-boyfriend, Jonah.
The drama.
Yep. And when he sees Jonah, Bear jumps to conclusion the way a gazelle leaps over a river.
Yeah.
And immediately turns and just walks out. He's like, "You know what? I can't do this." And he goes to find Creed. And up to this point, Bear had noticed that Creed and his ex girlfriend Anna were both acting weird. Like they would both tell him like, "Yeah, I gotta go. I'm gonna be meeting up with some friends." And Bear's like, "What friends? I'm your friend. You have other friends? When did this happen?" Right? And it was both of them were acting dodgy. So when Bear walks out of Otter's room, Otter follows him out, trying to explain, like, "Hey, well, hold up. It's not what you think. It's not what you think." Bear walks into Creed's bedroom, and there he finds his best friend and his ex girlfriend making out.
Damn.
So,
Treachery everywhere.
well, to be fair, the treachery started with Bear when he started seeing Otter behind both of their backs. So it's kind of like a triangle. Well, it's like a cycle, really.
Yeah.
But he has no room to talk, but still seeing the shock of seeing his best friend and ex-girlfriend like in that situation kind of just made him shut down. So he turns around and decides to just leave, just like, "All right, fuck this. I can't deal with this." When he turns to leave, like Otter had followed him and his ex-boyfriend Jonah followed him too, and Jonah like he has that kind of personality that's just more very smug, like because Jonah knew about Bear, uh because Otter had told Jonah about Bear before, maybe not the whole situation, but Jonah was able to put two and two together. And reason why Jonah showed up was because he was trying to get Otter to get back together with him. And
Yeah.
when he showed up and when he was in the room, when he showed up and when Bear walked in, Jonah looked at him and he's like, "Oh, you must be Bear. Hey, I'm Jonah. I'm Otter's boyfriend." Like,
Uh-uh.
So when Bear walked out and walked in on his other friends together, and he turns to leave, Jonah was there too, and he had this like really smug look on his face. So as Bear was walking out of the house, he punches Jonah in the face.
Rightfully deserved.
Uh-huh. Oh, dude, the tea. Oh, but that's not going to be until the next book.
Yeah.
We won't learn much more about Jonah, and the role that he plays until in the next book. But either way, Bear leaves. He gets in his car and he speeds off. Otter like actually chases him down the street, like trying to stop him. Like, wait, no, don't go. And I'm like, oh, he actually chased him. Oh, that's love right there. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he actually was willing to like chase after a car. Oh, oh, Otter, I stand.
Top tier, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so Bear doesn't go back to his house. Doesn't go back to his apartment. He just really wanted to be alone after all the shocking revelations he received, and he goes to this. So Seafair is a coastal town. So he drives to this stretch of beach. It's kind of this part of the beach is very deserted. There's not many people go through there, and him and his family often refer to that stretch of that beach as their beach because like really they're the ones that always go to that part of the coast. So he goes there and he just spends the rest of the night there just looking out in the sea, being very angsty and shit. Come the next morning, um, like he expected his friends would eventually find him there. And they do, but it turns out but the person who finds him at the beach happens to be his little brother Tyson. And
Oh no.
when he sees Tyson, he asks him, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, and Tyson tells him, "Well, I figured you'd be here, and I thought I'd come and check up on you. I heard what happened. I heard what
How?
happened. Well, his friends were freaking out, so they went to his apartment to see if Bear was there, and he
Mm.
wasn't. And they told the kid like the whole thing that went down, and the kid was like, "Ah, oh, Bear, that idiot." So he ends up telling Otter and Creed and Anna everything that happens with with their mom and what their mom had actually done, like threatened to do. And Bear checked his phone later, ends up checking his phone and sees all the messages from his friends, and he has one message from Otter, and Otter's like uh and Bear says, "Kid told me everything. I can't believe you didn't tell me. Come on, please, let's just talk about this." And it's not what you think. Jonah was not here for that. Like, I'm not back together with Jonah. I don't know why he was here in the first place. Um, Kid manages to talk Bear. Like, he manages to get some sense into Bear, and uh, Bear agrees to come back home. Uh, they go back to. He drives them both back to the apartment, where they find Creed, Anna, and Mrs. Paquin waiting for them. Otter had gone back to the house because he had to make sure that the whole situation with Jonah was taken care of, and make sure that Jonah was sent well on his unmerry way. And when he was there, he confesses everything to everybody. He tells them that he and Otter had been seeing each other, and that he ended the relationship because his mom came back. She somehow found out about the relationship, and she threatened to take the kid away if they didn't do something, if they didn't break up. And um, everyone like Creed and Anna were understandably upset, and Bear had his moment of getting mad at them too because they kept their relationship from him. But they all reconcile. They all talk it out, and they tell Bear, "Okay, now quit being an idiot and go get your man."
Period.
And yeah, so Bear goes. He goes finds Otter. They talk it out. He explains the whole situation, and Otter tells Bear that yes, he was going back, like what I mentioned before, he was going back to California, but it wasn't to get back with Jonah, and it wasn't to leave Seafair behind for good. He was going there to completely resign from his job and complete the process of moving back to Seafair, and also make it very clear to Jonah that they're through. because the thing about him and Jonah was that before came back to California, I'm sorry, came back to Seafair, he had found out that Jonah cheated on him. So they also two had broken up over that. But Jonah wanted to try to get back with, and he came back to Seafair to try to with. But Jonah has that. He has that I get whatever the fuck I want, no matter what kind of attitude. So like if he sees it, he gets it. It doesn't matter what anybody says. And I mean, it's honestly, it's just very obnoxious. Like it's a very obnoxious way of thinking. But Otter shuts that shit down, says they're not getting back together, and he tells Bear that I'm staying for good, and if anything, there's something I want to show you. So they get into so Otter takes Bear to this neighborhood, to this nearby neighborhood, and he shows him this old house. Now this house, let me tell you something. This house becomes known as the Green Monstrosity because it is painted a just extremely awful color of green. Like it's like somebody vomited green over a house. Like it's just Bear describes it as like as a very disgusting color of green. And Otter shows him this house, and he tells him, I bought a house because I'm gonna be staying here for good. And Bear's all like, well, that's all well and good, but what does this have to do with me? And he's like, well, I bought this house for you. and Bear has a bit of a mini freak out. He's like, you bought me a house? And Otter's like, yes, because I'm here for good. I'm here for us, and I want us to be together, and I want you to know, like, this is it. You are my one. You're my one and only, and I want to be with you. And I see that. I also want to get you out of that apartment because after everything, that apartment is not good for you. You've been living in that dump for a long time, and it has too many bad memories with your mom. And besides, you and the kid, you deserve so much better. You deserve a real home. All right, you deserve to live, not just survive. And yeah, so I was like, this man bought a house.
Damn.
Like there were for like that is like as a way of like proclaim like a full on declaration of love. I'm buying you a house, and I want you to move it. I want you and the kids to move in with me. And it took some convincing, but Bear agrees, and especially when he tells the kid, the kid's all like, "Cool, when do we move in?" So the two of them, they do end up moving in together, and this is where pretty much the book comes to an end. They begin the process of moving out of their apartment, it was hard for them because when Bear and the kid were first on their own after their mom left, Bear thought about moving into his mom's room, but he decides not to do that because, for starters, for the main part, Kid has a very bad panic episode when he tries to do that, and Kid says he would rather Bear stay in the same room with him, and I realize he just can't walk into that room. There's just too many bad memories of his mom is just like ingrained in that room, and it just made him uncomfortable. So that was really like a selling point for Bear. Like, yeah, get out, like completely get out of that, just move on. They like since their mom left, they hadn't even touched that room, like gone into that bedroom, and uh, I know I got way ahead of myself because I almost forgot about the scene. But you see, Otter admitted that he was in love with Bear pretty early on, and the
Yeah.
thing is, it took a while for Bear to actually say it back. And
Ooh.
when he finally came to realize that he felt the same way, like he decided it was time for him to say it back, like say I love you back, right?
Yeah.
But um it was hilarious because when he told this to the kid was like, "No, no, no, you can't just go up to him and tell you, hey, I love you, right? No, like this is a big deal. You gotta actually you gotta work it, man. You gotta sell it." So Kid ended up orchestrating an entire date for the two of them, for Bear,
Aw.
just for Bear to tell, just for Bear to tell Otter that he loves him,
Aw.
and so he had everything planned out. Uh, they bought some stuff to set up like a date on the beach, and that stretch of beach where where Bear fled to after that confrontation. Um, so he set up a table, romantic candlelight dinner, everything. He was all ready to and the kid wanted him to read a poem to Otter to
Aw.
like to confess his love for Otter. And while
Aw.
Bear wasn't for it, he eventually agreed to do it just for the kid's sake. And so he gets to the beach. He waits for Otter to show. He set up the little table with their food, the candles, everything. And it was. I was like, when I was reading the scene, like getting set when he was getting set up, and I was reading the scene, I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Like that's adorable. And he was very like shy and nervous, but when Otter shows up, Bear was so ready. He's like he was about to start like with the whole poem and everything, and like walk Otter to the uh to their little candlelight dinner. But when Otter shows up, he sees Bear dressed up and everything, and he's like, oh, Bear, this is sweet. By the way, there's a seagull trying to eat our food.
Oh.
And like because Bear's back was turned to the table, so when he was distracted by Otter, he didn't see a seagull flew down and was like began eating their food. And when Otter says that, Bear turns around like, what? And sure enough, there's a seagull, and he freaks out and he runs up to and tries to like scare the seagull off. But when the thing is, like, seagulls don't really just fly away when you run at them. They kind of just hop and uh they spread their wings. This fucking bird, it did that. It like just kind of hopped away on the table in its wings, and when it did that, it knocked over one of the candles, and the entire table went up in flames.
Oh no.
And Bear starts freaking out. He's trying to like put out like scare off the seagull and put out the flames. And like he does the only thing he can do. He grabs a tablecloth and he drags it to the ocean to put it out, right? But thing is that when that's done, he turns around and looks at Otter and he's like, "Look, he does it. It could have been worse." But he doesn't get a chance to, because at that point that's when it starts raining. And when I say raining,
Oh
straight up it
no.
straight up starts pouring on the two of them. And the thing is, the entire time that this is happening, where Bear is like trying to put out the like fire, chase off the seagull and everything, is losing his shit. He is laughing his ass off. He sweetest thing he's ever seen, but also the funniest thing he ever saw. But so like it's at that point where they're standing in the rain, and Bear just says, like,
There's his what?
Bear says, "I love you." Just comes out with it. Like, okay, well, I was trying to do something nice. This was all just because I wanted to tell you I love you. And when I told Kid that I was ready to do that, he had to do this, and I wanted to do this something more romantic. And Otter was like, "You don't need to do anything romantic for me. I love you too." And like, it was just so sweet. And after that, it was not long after that that the whole mom happening, and now we're here. towards the end of the book, they begin the process of moving into uh, the new house, which is now officially dubbed the Green Monstrosity. And life is good for them. And the book ends like kind of does a little skip to like a few months later, and Otter is talking with a kid and is asking him, "Do you think he'll like it?" And Kid is like, "Oh yeah, he'll love it." And when Kid walks away, Otter looks down at a box in his hand, and I think we all know what that tiny little box is, and that's pretty much where the story ends. So there's a few now. You'll have to forgive me. There's some small little details that didn't really go into with the story, but this was Bear, Otter, and the Kid. It's a cute story. I liked it. It was very wholesome. There's good, happy, feel good moments, and then there's moments that make you want to cry. And there's just so much growth and like personal development in this story. Definitely worth the read. This was um, one of Klune's more popular books in his under his belt that he's written. So there are 4 books in this series in total. The first one, of course, is Bear, Otter, and the Kid. The next book is called Who We Are, and takes place pretty much where this book left off, and it's going to be just telling more about more of how Bear and Otter's relationship grows now that they're openly in a relationship. And yeah, there's just so much that's going to happen, and can't wait to tell you guys about it. But
I
until
can't
then,
wait. I can't wait to hear more about it. This story's good.
oh yeah, yeah, it's so good. Like, I read it and I was like, okay, this is definitely more of like this book is definitely more set in reality than most books that I'm used to reading, because I read a lot of science fiction, fantasy, and just fiction.
Yeah.
Like I read books that interest me. I'll put it to you that way. And now, and this is definitely different from what I'm used to reading, and it was worth the read. Like, as soon as I finished the first book, I immediately bought the second book, and then so on and so forth. Like, that's how good these books were. Like, as soon as one book was over, I was like, I gotta read the other one. I can't stop. I don't need sleep. I need answers. And
Yes.
um, but yes, I read this whole book series within a span of like a few weeks, just because I was just like every moment I had reading these books. And it was it has been such a long time since I found a book series that made me want to read it like cover to cover. And like as soon as I finished one book, I was like immediately reading the next one. And I think the last series that did that for me was definitely it was I can't think of it. Like, I think it was either the Percy Jackson series or the Harry Potter series. No, you know what? No, I read Percy Jackson was actually that book series for me.
Yeah.
That like, and I read that series for the first time like over 12 years ago.
Damn.
So it's been a long time since I've found a book series as is that really like got me, like, that I thought was so good that I just couldn't stop reading it. And if you're looking for something different, for wholesome, and if you're gay and you want more gay romance in your life, I definitely look up books by TJ Klune. Um, I've already read about 13 of his books so far.
Damn.
Because aside from the Wolf Song novels and Bear Otter and the Kid, there's another series I read by TJ Klune. It's more of a silly comedic series, still gay romance called The Tales from Verania, and we'll eventually. I
We'll get
definitely
to
want
that.
to. We'll get to those eventually, but we got 3 more books in Bear, Otter, and the Kid, and they're all just as good. And it's a
And on,
great.
and on top of that, I'm reading that series that you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I
I'm
I
reading the
was
first
bugging.
one.
I was bugging Devin so much about the Tales from Verania that I pretty much bullied him into reading the first
Fully,
into reading the
yeah.
first. I told him like, you gotta read it, man. You gotta read it. Lightning struck heart. You gotta read it. Okay. There's a character in there. He's so you. Okay. He's gay. He's a unicorn. He's missing his horn, but he glitters when he's angry. You'll love him.
And I do. And that's gonna be a future episode at some point after this series. But on that, thank you all for listening to today's episode. Catch us next time as we continue, as Jacob continues on talking about the Bear, Otter, and the Kid, that series of books. What's the title series of it called?
So the title series is Bear, Otter, and the Kid.
Oh, that's the actual series name.
Yeah, so that's the
Okay.
it's actually Bear, Otter, and the Kid Chronicles. There's
Got
4
it.
books. Yeah, there's 4 books in the series. First 2 books are like basically the early, like of course, first book is the start of Bear and Otter's relationship. Second book is like the continuation of that. Third book is from the kid's perspective, but that one is when Kid is like in his late teens, when he's about almost 20 years old. So like right now, in this book and in the next book, he's like 9 and 10. And then later, the third book, it's going to be a significant time gap. And oh my God, let me tell you something. It's their third book is the kid is going to be finally facing his mental health, especially when it comes to his panic his panic attacks, his anxiety, and his own love, his own romance. All right, with a police
His
officer.
own love for what?
His own romance. He has his own love
Oh.
interests. So like it'll explore his budding relationship with a police officer.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't tell me the gender. Don't tell me who. I gotta say just the police officer.
Devin,
Cool. I'll look forward to that. What?
Devin, Devin. It's a
What?
gay. It's still a gay romance novel.
Oh, so the kid's gay too?
Uh huh.
Got it.
But unlike his older brother, the kid was completely aware of his sexuality, and he was just like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm gay."
Work. Join us next time
So
as we continue on through this series. Until then,
next book. Until next week, we will be reviewing book 2 of Bear, Otter, and the Kid Chronicles. Who We Are.
yes. Okay,
All right,
bye.
bye.